Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. Opening week, opening day. We're so pumped. How we doing, boys?
Awesome.
Good, man. I'm pumped. What, 3 days away or whatever it is? Four wake ups. I'm happy.
Dude, I can't wait.
mean,
I actually
honestly-
missed those like early Red Sox games when they were like in Japan to start, and you would like wake up at 8 a.m. watching your first baseball game. But man,
But who honestly thought we were going to have April baseball this year? I had serious doubts.
Seriously.
yeah.
No, I think we all did.
Yeah. And honestly, we probably shouldn't. We'll get into the Oakland A's a little bit later, but we shouldn't be having April baseball because a lot of things that's going on didn't get fixed. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Do they still play baseball in Oakland? I'm just checking.
I don't know. I think it's a single A roster at some point here, but yeah. Before we get going, like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll see when we go live. You can interact with us whenever you want. To get things kicked off, they dropped the City Connect uniforms for this year. And yeah, so these were the uniforms for last year. The only one I personally like is the South Side one. The Dodgers one I think is dumb. So it's the same
just
exact
the Dodgers uniform.
Right.
I think the Miami uniform is not bad looking, but it looks like a jersey they'd wear every day anyways. Like there's nothing, I think, City Connect about it.
Right. But yeah, the City Connect jerseys for this year are Colorado, Houston, the Royals, the Angels, the Brewers, and the Padres. And then they just released what the Washington Nationals jersey will look like. And it's just WSH with cherry blossoms on it. And I think it's absolutely hideous. I think all of these are hideous. I could get behind them if they were for a cause, but they're not. It's just to make Nike richer. But I mean, what are your thoughts on them, fellas?
I don't know. I didn't like them last year. I don't really like them this year. I mean, they are what they are. They wear them, like maybe 10, 12 times a year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm with you. Like the fact that they're not for, like if they were for a cause, then yeah, like absolutely wear them as much as you want. But like they're not. They're going to make their extra money off of it, and it is what it is. So I mean, people are going to buy them. People are going to wear them. I think they're disgusting, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
I think they're incredibly ugly in most cases. I don't even think they're all that well thought out. They're just kind of like weird colors slapped together. I agree with you guys with the fact that this is a huge missed opportunity for baseball not to do something with these jerseys with the proceeds of them. Like I think of like the old, they always have the pink bats on Mother's Day and stuff like that for cancer.
Right.
Like there's so many cool things they could do with these, but yet again, MLB is kind of tone deaf to the rest of the world and chooses to run these jerseys out that most people don't like, that nobody understands the design of and only makes Nike money. And we're all left wondering why the hell we're doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I get that not everything needs to be for a cause. Like I've seen that argument, but at the same time is like, it's to bring like fan involvement or like City Connect. That tells me you want to bring the community into it somehow. So if that's your goal, why aren't you giving it back to the community? That part, pardon the pun, doesn't connect. Like I don't understand that. Like
I hear you. I mean, I do think they try to, like if you think about the Red Sox ones, right? Like it's marathon colors. The font across that said Boston was kind of like the marathon font. Like they did try in that sense to be City Connect in that respect. But I mean, I'm sure the cherry blossoms mean something to Washington D.C. Like I'm not from there, so I don't know. Like I'm sure.
Well, it's the cherry blossoms bloom around
their
the
claim to
National Mall
fame.
there. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I mean, they're trying. And again, like some people like them. I'm sure some people like them. And I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have some kind of meaning to some people. I do wish that they had that last piece, Nick, that you said, that it just kind of gave back. You don't have to give 100% of the proceeds back. Like,
absolutely not.
They got to make some money, I guess, right? But, give something back. Like if you're going to call them City Connect jerseys, I'm with you 100%. I mean, make the community part of the proceeds.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this Nationals jersey. Okay, cool. Like if you want to sell some of these in the pro shop as a cool little like fancy little extra item. But I mean, I just can't imagine Juan Soto running out there and hitting a bomb in this jersey. Like, I just don't see it.
Well, you're gonna.
Yeah, I hope I don't
mean,
have to, but
right. But I mean, I get the cherry blossoms for Washington.
absolutely.
George Washington's claim was he chopped down the cherry tree, whatever, and there's cherry blossoms all down the National Mall. But they're ugly. I just don't like them. I don't like how they look. I think they're hideous. And like I've said, like it would make them less hideous if it was for a cause. But yeah. Yeah, and I mentioned this to you guys earlier. If the Milwaukee Brewers don't come out with the Milwaukee beers from basketball on, they're missing a huge opportunity there.
Why that's not already one of their alternate jersey options, I don't know why. That would be awesome to the old Red Sox red uniform that you break out like a handful of times a year.
Right, the alternate
that
home
should be their alternate uniform.
Absolutely. Oh, so great. Yeah, and then the second part of leading off tonight, they came out with this Home Run Derby X, which is it's going to be a mix of I guess current players and old players from what I'm reading, but it's going to start with Adrian Gonzalez, Johnny Gomes, Giovanni Soto, and Nick Swisher. And they're going to be traveling around to different countries. So they're starting in London. They'll go to Seoul, Korea. And then the other one was Mexico City.
City. Yeah.
Yep, Mexico City. And then if you guys ever played MVP Baseball 2005, you could go into this.
The greatest baseball video game there.
It was classic.
Dude, so far ahead of its time. It's not even funny. When you actually had to time a pitch to take it to right field, like,
oh man,
it was so far ahead of its time. But yeah, they had like targets out in the outfield and behind the fence that you had to try to hit during the BP and earn points. That's pretty much what this is going to be. But there's also going to be a defensive aspect to it, which I think is pretty cool. Where if Adrian Gonzalez and Johnny Gomes is hitting and they're on the same team, Nick Swisher and Soto can field the ball and earn points for them as well. So it can work both ways. And it's going to be on a modified baseball field. And when I say modified, I'm talking like Top Golf kind of modified, where like the home plate is home plate's elevated on a stage, the pitcher's mound's elevated on a stage, and then the field's down below. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know. The first time it comes on is July 9th in London, but I don't have any specs on like who's covering it or what. I'm guessing July 9th would be around the All-Star game anyways, right?
Yep.
It's usually
Yeah, so it's London on July 9th, Seoul on September 17th, and Mexico City on October 15th. And so each team is going to feature people from 4 different categories. There will be an MLB legend. There will be a superstar, which is a player coming from the world of softball and women's baseball. There will be a rookie, which is a player from the men's baseball development system. I'm not sure what exactly that means, if that's minor leagues or something else. And then there's going to be a wild card person, which is an influential content creator.
Is that like an MLB The Show? Like,
I'm guessing that's going to be like a YouTuber or something. I'm thinking. I don't know.
Listen, I am all about. We've sat here for months and talked about how baseball needs to do things differently to engage people. Like, I am all for them doing that, but like, maybe slow down a little bit. Like, maybe let's start with the modified home run derby, and then we can start adding YouTubers. Like, it's just like.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's getting a little bit crazy with how. Like, this is a brand new thing that like no one's ever done before, and we're gonna have like a softball player pitching to like a YouTuber who's like hitting to someone in the stands that's like played in like 1955. Like, I'm like, what is going on here? It's just like it's a lot.
I don't know.
Like, it's a lot at once. Like, I wish they would kind of roll it out piece by piece, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'll tune in if it's on TV, if it's aired somewhere, which I'm sure it will be. Like, I'll tune in and check it out, but I don't know.
For sure.
Dude, if Bill Spaceman Lee can come out of the bleachers at a Savannah Bananas game and pitch and strike out, like, dude, all for it. Like,
Oh God.
oh,
There we go. Ken's got it right.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, man.
But
But yeah,
it's one of those things. Like, yeah, I love the fact that MLB is thinking outside the box and getting creative. But it's like, let's look at like maybe some small steps outside of the box. Let's not take like a leap to a whole nother planet and try to reinvent home run derby. Like, it would have been cool if they just brought out just take home run derby on the road with like a group of MLB legends, like the old one-on-one home run derby. Like, that would have been cool. That would have been a nice, cool little start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious as just to wonder, and I'm sure it's all going to come. The plan's going to come undone, not undone in a bad way, but like it's going to be laid out. Like,
Yep.
But I'm curious, like if it doesn't go, if it's going to go off with a few speed bumps this year. I mean, there's a lot of new things happening at one time. Like, are they just going to scrap it if it doesn't like take off after 1 year? Like that's typical MLB, right? They'll do this for 1 year, and then they're not going to get the crazy ratings that they want, and then they go, well, it stinks, so we're just going to scrap it. It's like you don't just like I don't know. I'm curious. I'm interested. They have me curious, but like let's see where they go from here. Let me just leave it at that. I'm curious. I'm not fully into it yet, but I'm curious.
Oh, same.
I mean, I'll watch it. I'm sure I'll check it out, but I'm scratching my head at what they're doing. Although, what are they going to do the first time like Adrian Gonzalez falls off the friggin' platform and like breaks a hip?
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw it come through and I did like a brief scan of it. I didn't read it that deeply. And I was just like, huh, this is interestingly weird. I didn't know what to think of it. But I mean, who knows? Like, and you notice none of them are here in the US. They're like London, Seoul, and Mexico City. So they're trying to globalize the game more.
Well, but I also think that that's part of it is because they're doing it during the baseball season. You know, like if you did something like that here on American soil, like during the Major League Baseball season, like they know they're not going to get like this is. I think they're trying it out in different cities in different countries to gauge interest of what people will watch. Like I don't think they're gunning for us just yet. Like I do think they're trying to like figure out kind of what works, what doesn't work, and then they'll bring it here. I would assume. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense. Try it out on the rest of the world before it comes to the US.
I mean, a place like London being the first one to me is a little bit like telling in that sense. Like England is not like a big baseball hotbed. No. Right? So like they're out there trying to gauge it. Like, are people going to watch this? Like, are people going to be interested in this in any way, shape, or form? And then they go from there. Seoul, Korea, you're getting there. Like at least Korea, they play baseball in those Asian countries.
Yeah, and Korean baseball league is legit.
Yeah, right. And then they end in Mexico, where they certainly play baseball down there. Yeah. So I think it's telling that they start in a place like London and end in a place like Mexico City. But we'll see.
Have we heard if they're going to go back and play games in London yet? Because I mean, obviously with COVID they stopped, and they were going to go back. I think in 2020, right? Because it started 2019. I'm pretty sure. It wasn't. I think it was the year before COVID, and then they were going to play more games over there, and obviously all that crap. So I didn't know if they were planning on going back.
I hope they do.
Yeah, because what was that? That 18-13 game was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, it was like hitting the little league field. I mean, my God.
Yeah, and balls were just flying out of there. That was nuts. But yeah, so that will be Home Run Derby X will be definitely very interesting to see what happens there. But just thought I would mention it and see what happens. But we're going to move on to a fifth inning showdown here, where we're going to talk about who do we think is going to be the most surprise team of 2022 here. I have a couple myself, but let's start with you guys.
Go for it, Sean.
Yeah, you want me to kick it off? I got Detroit. If you guys listened last week, I'm pretty high on the Detroit Tigers this year. I think AJ Hinch is a good manager. I mean, I know he's got that kind of asterisk on him. But Javier Baez is going to help in the middle infield. Miguel Cabrera is kind of a shell of himself, but the guy can still swing a baseball bat, and he's kind of the veteran presence I think a team like that needs. They've already announced Spencer Torkelson is on the MLB roster for opening day, which, if you guys know that's my pick for American League Rookie of the Year, if you listened last week. and then Riley Green, I'm sure, is going to be right up there on the major league roster as soon as he comes back from the foot injury.
They
And I
already
do.
they announced that he's
I'm
on the
sure,
roster when he's just gonna
Gotcha.
when he comes
Yeah,
back.
perfect. I agree with Scott. He just said Erod's your number one. That's gross. I was just going to say I do think that part is tough. I do think their number one is Casey Mize.
Yeah, I
But
think Mize has to be the number one.
Mize is their number one. I mean, I would put him up there. But yeah, I mean, but I do think Erod's going to be better than people are giving him credit for. Erod is an above average lefty starter. But I do think their pitching staff is going to be kind of the one thing that we'll have to wait and see. But I do think that offense is going to be pretty legit. So yeah, Detroit's my team.
And I feel like people forget that Erod in 2019 was 19-6. I mean,
yeah,
the guy can throw. I mean, he can pitch. 2020 he got COVID, that messed him all up with then he had the heart stuff that came after it. But he's had
Erod's thing
some years.
is always been pitch count because he throws he nibbles on corners and he tries to get you to swing and miss, and he's a big swing and miss guy. And when he's not making you swing and miss, he throws a lot of pitches. And his thing is like he would, even that year in 2019, I bet you if we went and looked up his game by game stats, I bet you he'd get to the sixth inning with 90 pitches, 95 pitches in the sixth inning.
Yep.
And it's like he's got to be a little bit more fit, but that's his game. Like you have to know that going in. You have to know he's not going to throw 8 innings. He's not going to pitch you a complete game. I mean, he throws too many pitches, but when he's on, he is extremely effective.
When that changeup is on, and he can control his changeup, he's unhittable. He's untouchable.
You want to know one of my favorite things last summer? So my younger brother Connor and I would golf all the time, like early afternoon in the summer, like after work. Sox are on at 7:30, whatever. One of our favorite things to do is, like, especially when Erod's pitching, he's almost guaranteed to throw that changeup as the first pitch of the game. It's almost a guarantee every start. And you can tell by the first pitch of the game if he has it or if he doesn't have it. And there are times where that first pitch, like it's like a 4-inch drop, and I'm just like, oh, it's going to be a good one for Eddie. Like Eddie's on today.
It's the same thing with Wakefield.
Yeah, right. But you're right, Nick. That when that changeup is on for him, he is as good as you can get. He's just not efficient, but you have to know that going in. You can't expect that.
Right. Yeah, he ain't Greg Maddux out there.
No.
Yeah.
Goodness, no.
Who do you got?
Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your biggest surprise, Harrison?
So my surprise, I've got two teams. I've got one that I got kind of a 1A and then a 1B, but really for me, the number one surprise team for me, I think is going to be the Angels. I think if you get a full, I mean, granted, this is a big asterisk, but you get a full season out of Mike Trout, because we really haven't seen a full season out of him in 4 or 5 seasons now.
It's been a while. Yeah.
And all indications are it appears that he's in good shape. They're going to kind of, load manage him like they do in the NBA. He's going to get some additional off days to keep him fresh. But I think if you actually see a lineup with Ohtani, Trout, and Rendon together for a long period of time, it's a pretty good 3-4-5 punch right there. I think they've got better pitching than we give them credit for. I think a healthy Syndergaard is a threat. Again, that's a healthy Syndergaard. That's obviously a wild card there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Angels are better than we give them credit for. And my other team is the Rangers for all the same reasons. They've got probably the best middle infield in all of baseball. John Gray leaving Colorado is a big. Yeah, John, exactly.
Yeah.
The Sox probably have the only middle infield that can rival them. I think they've got slightly better pitching than we think, young pitching, developing pitching. But I think those two teams are going to be fun to watch. And if they can maintain their health and build up some level of consistency, I think one of those two teams could pop through and make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's, we picked the Astros to win that division.
Sure.
And you just pulled two AL West teams, and then I'm going to pull a third, the Mariners. I feel like that division could be a toss-up this year.
I think it's better really than people give it credit for.
The Mariners.
Yeah, I think the ultimate thing, though, I think I'll let you just. I don't think we can call it a toss-up until we get to August, September, and Houston's not in the lead, because Houston's proven that they can win the division. The other teams haven't, so they got to prove that they can win it. I think you guys have a good point though on those 3 of those teams. So Nick, go ahead on Seattle.
No, I mean that's a valid point. I mean, Houston's been the top dog for I don't even know the last time they didn't win the division, but
I mean, Houston's kind of established themselves like the Patriots did. You know, the ALCS runs through Houston. It has for 5 years now.
right.
You know, until somebody shows they can rise up and take that spot, you know,
Yeah.
it's theirs.
But yeah, I made a mistake last week, thinking that Adam Frazier was still on the Padres. He is not. Adam Frazier is on the Mariners. They got Winker. They got Eugenio Suarez from the Reds
Yeah.
deal in that same Winker trade. You sign Robbie Ray. They just extended Mitch Haniger, who hit 39 bombs last year for them. I mean, and then Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Lewis, like these guys are gonna thump. These guys are gonna thump in Seattle, and it's the AOS could be really fun to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
for
team that
sure.
it was a team that made upgrades over last year, and that last year team was like 2 games out of the wild card spot.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're not talking about a team last year that won 55 games. You know,
Right.
it was a talented team, and that Kyle Lewis played really well. You know, so we're talking about a team that needed to get a little bit better, and I think they got more than a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well,
and they still have great managers.
And a name
And
we
that
haven't mentioned
Scott
is
Service
Robbie
is a great
Ray.
manager. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they signed the Cy Young winner for last year, Robbie Ray. Now, is that season legit? Who knows? But he's going to a better pitcher's ballpark with what looks like a pretty solid defense behind him. I'm not a huge Robbie Ray guy because I feel like last season was a little bit fluky, but I think he's a solid pitcher. And in that ballpark, he may repeat last year. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody thinks the AOS is like the Astros and everybody else. But I feel like the Angels, the Rangers, and the Mariners have all made it more competitive than anybody gives them credit for making it.
Yeah.
It should be
Well,
an
we'll see
interesting
on
division.
paper. On
Yeah.
paper,
Right.
It should be
on
interesting.
paper. I mean, we'll see. You know, I think the Astros have earned that ability for people to say it's the Astros and then everyone else. I feel like
Yep.
they've earned that over the past 8 years. But I do agree that I do think it's going to be expected to be a lot closer this year.
So my second team here, don't laugh me out of the building, please. But it's the Miami Marlins. I think they take a big leap this year. Listen, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that whatever. But their pitching staff 1 through 5 is legit, and you guys probably haven't heard of half these guys, but they are nasty. You have Sixto Sanchez. He has Pedro Martinez like stuff when he's on, but it's triple digits. It's disgusting. Sandy Alcantara, you got Lopez, and everybody forgets about Jesus Luzardo, who went over from the A's last year. He's there. And then Eleazar Hernandez. Like those 5 on the top are nasty. And then you got Jorge Soler, you got Garcia in the outfield, Jesus Aguilar is there. Big bat in the middle. Jazz Chisholm's coming up, and then Anderson and Cooper. Anderson Cooper is also there. I think, and then Joey Wendell, great utility player, traded from the Rays there. I mean, I think that they could possibly push for third place in that division.
Well, and has anybody else seen the fact that Jorge Soler is batting leadoff for the Marlins? And they may go into the season with him batting leadoff. They think he's actually a legitimate leadoff hitter.
He did that for the Braves. Wasn't he?
Yeah, I think they did it sporadically. He's never been consistently in that spot because he's always seen as more of a power hitter.
Yeah.
Right. He's always seen as more of a power hitter, but it's kind of like Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. I mean, he's a massive OBP guy, but then he hit that Titanic bomb that may still have not landed that he hit the other day. Having somebody at the top of the lineup that actually has a little thump, I think is not a terrible idea. Gone are the days of the leadoff guy being Kenny Lofton or Ricky Henderson, like the kind of Johnny Damon, like the punch and Judy slap hitters that would get on base and use their speed. I mean, teams are putting like legitimate hitters in the leadoff spot, OBP guys, power guys. I don't hate Jorge Soler in the leadoff spot. I feel like he strikes out too much to really be a truly effective leadoff guy. But that really screws up with a pitcher when you're facing a guy who could take you deep on any pitch, right out of the gate.
I mean, that's how the game's evolved, right? I mean,
Oh yeah,
you're gonna put your top 6 hitters in the top 6 spots, whether they can hit home runs, whether they're on base guys. Like that's just what you're gonna do, just so they
yeah, 'cause
get the more at bats
yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. It's all about how many at bats you can get them. But
Uh-huh.
I've seen him hitting leadoff, scratch my head at what they're doing there. But then at the same time, he took Chris Bassett of the Mets deep in one of their first spring training games, and I thought, well, geez, that's a legit pitcher that you basically thumped right out of the gate. That changes
Yeah.
the dynamics of the game quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so those are some of our surprise teams there, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm
That
so pumped for this year. I can't wait.
that Marlins team is loaded with young talent.
Yeah,
Loaded.
just for them to get shipped out, like the Pirates do, and like the
Yeah.
A's do, and everything else. But yeah, all
I
right.
don't know, man.
We are going to go on to the 7th inning stretch here. We're flying tonight. We got the final 4 here. And then we are also going to do the championship matchup as well. Since the national championship for March Madness is tonight, I figured we'd finish off our bracket tonight. So yeah, first Final Four matchup, we got Ted Williams against Willie Mays. And that one took us quite a while. I think you guys talked me off the ledge with Willie Mays, and Ted Williams moves on here. Like I said before, Willie Mays is my favorite player of all time. So
that is such a hard one. I mean, Willie Mays is. I mean, he belongs in the Final Four. You could argue that if he was going up against somebody else, he'd be in the championship round.
no doubt.
He is like, he is. I mean, you think about our Final Four. That is our Mount Rushmore of Major League Baseball, which he clearly belongs on.
Right.
But
right.
I mean, what he did over his career is just obscene, and to do it as long as he did at a high level like he did is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's insane. But yeah, so we went with Williams there, and then on the other side we got Hammer and Hank versus Barry Bonds, and we went with Barry Bonds here. So Barry Bonds beats out Hammer and Hank. Yeah, I mean, Willie Mays was an 8-tool player. If you really want to break it down, he had everything.
There's nothing he couldn't do.
But I mean, what Ted Williams did at the plate, off the field, it's really hard. Like, yeah, I mean, here it comes. Ready? Homers. And now.
And the hard part too is that, and I'm gonna throw a little shade at Willie Mays real quick, but he piled up a lot of stats in very meaningless years. I mean, the last, you could argue, from basically his age 35 year on, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 10 seasons. He's got 10 seasons of stats that were probably below replacement level. I mean, from 35 on, he was an average or below average player, but he hung on. So it's almost like, you look at a lot of the stats he put up in those seasons, the hits, the RBIs. He didn't hit for a ton of power in that time, but it's almost like he's a benefit of longevity, but not necessarily like, he wasn't that great for that long. Really, he had a stretch of probably, I mean, he wasn't even really great in the early part of his career. He was really had about a 12-year stretch where he was dominant and elite. Otherwise, after that, he was pretty average or below. But he played for a long time. He piled up a lot of stats because of that.
Right. Absolutely. Ken says, I saw Ted Williams last at bat for a home run in black and white with rabbit ears. What's rabbit ears?
Black and white. TV was black and white. It wasn't always color.
Goodness. What? That's got to be a lie. Those things never existed.
Pictures didn't happen.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, I'm so, like, Sean and I have talked about this numerous times about being born in the wrong generation, because going back and being able to like watch those guys, like,
but I'm glad that like, true, 100%. But then like the generation we were born in now, like the access to baseball that we have. Like I can watch
It's true.
12 baseball games every night if I wanted to. Like I
At the
couldn't do
same
that
time.
back then. So like I'm, you take the good with the bad.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm not complaining, but I'm kind of complaining. But yeah, it just would have been nice to see those guys, honestly. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
just give me one day and I'll go and just like get to as many games as I can, or one a
Right,
week,
for
I
sure.
should say, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I kind of already mentioned this the other matchup, Hank Aaron versus Barry Bonds here, and we went with Barry Bonds here. We figured, I mean, like Hank Aaron did it for so long too. Like, he had like a 27-year career or something insane like that. I don't have the stats up right now, but I mean, he was in the league forever as well.
It was. Barry Bonds had
23 years.
Barry Bonds had 22, so they relatively played the same number of years. Barry Bonds had a 22-year career. He had 7 MVPs. He won 4 in a row from 2001 to 2004. And then, like, it's not even close. You look at his baseball reference page. It is just littered with bolded letters of like leading the league and all kinds of things. I mean, he led the league 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in intentional walks. And in 2004, he was intentionally walked 120 times. He had 120 intentional walks in 1 year.
I mean, that's almost one a game. I mean, that's insanity.
Dude,
that is ridiculous.
That's crazy. And like 3 of them were the bases loaded.
Right.
I mean,
That's
like,
even
of course,
crazier.
like they shouldn't even have to put that led the league. Like, of course, 120 leads the league. Like, you don't even have to notate that.
Yeah, that feels
like,
obvious
of course
to
it
me.
leads the league.
Yeah. My wife could look at that stat and be like, "Oh, that must have been the most in the league." Like,
I mean, shit. In 1994, he led it with 18. That's 1-8. He led it in 1994, and then 10 years later, they did it 120 times.
it's silly.
So yeah, listen. All due respect to Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron is, I think. I mean, I'm biased, but I think we got it right. When we needed to come down to the best 4 players on that bracket, I feel like we got the best 4 players on that bracket.
Yep, for sure.
Right.
But it was time for Hank to go home because Barry Bonds just blows a lot of those numbers out of the water.
Barry broke every one of his records. It's hard to argue the fact that the guy that broke all your records, would be beaten by you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, walk with the bases loaded. It happened like a couple times. It's like,
that's insanity to think that you would willingly give up the run rather than risk pitching to this guy. I mean, that's like next level.
Dude, it's crazy. And it's like there was a girl for UCLA a few years ago. Her name was Veronica Nelson. And she was like the Barry Bonds of college softball. She would every at bat, dude, she went yard. And there'd be like nobody on base and like no outs. And they'd be like, "Yep, put her on." Like they wouldn't even pitch to her with nobody on and nobody out. Like, I mean, no thanks.
The only other guy I think you would approach with that thought of I'm not going to pitch him, I'm just going to walk him with the bases loaded is probably Nick Arno.
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
nobody else that approach that way.
No.
Okay, so I just got to go back to this 2004 season for Barry Bonds just for 1 second because. So obviously you guys know, like when you get hit by pitch and then walks, they don't count towards like at bats, right? So this guy had 617 plate appearances in 2004, 617, and only 373 were recorded at bats. That's how many free passes this guy got. That is insane.
232 walks.
What's
amazing? What's amazing? 232 walks versus 41 strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I get frustrated when I get walked in men's league. Like, I can't even imagine going up to the plate just knowing you're going to get walked. Like, how frustrating is that?
He reached 100 strikeouts one time in his career, and it was his rookie year in 1986. And he had 102, barely broke 100. Every season, the rest of his 22-year career, 21 straight seasons, never sniffed 100 strikeouts.
Jesus. It's wild.
It's wild.
I mean, they're video game numbers, man. That's all you can say.
Yeah. But so now we got the championship, and then I will hand out the results for the new era hat that we got here. And like I said, it's to the team of your choice, but we got Barry Bonds versus Ted Williams here in the final.
Best left-handed hitters in baseball history
of all time.
And we got Ted Williams is our champion.
I'm waiting for stuff to start getting thrown at us.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
And
All right,
I'm
but
gonna sit back and I'm gonna let these two go because this was the longest conversation we had all night when we did this bracket.
We spent a good half an hour just beating up this decision. And it was because honestly, we all thought it should be Barry Bonds based on the stats. And then we literally sat here, and Sean and I are going to do it right now. And we broke down a 162 game average season for the two players, and we're absolutely shocked at the results. So let's do the 162 average. Let's start with.
There it is.
let's
There's
start
the
with
Homer's comment. I was waiting for that one.
Wait, did
There
we
it
get it
is.
already?
There
Yes.
it is.
Yes, I love it.
It
Homer.
ain't a show without me being disconnected or Ken calling us homers. There we go.
All right, so let's start with runs, Sean. So I've got Ted Williams. Sean's got Barry Bonds. So 162 game average for runs for Ted Williams, 127.
And Barry Bonds was 121. So right around there. A couple more for Ted
Yep.
Williams, but right around the same.
For Ted Williams, hits 188.
159. So a good 20 hits.
Yep.
Almost 30
Doubles,
hits. 33 for
37
Barry.
for Ted,
All right. Triples for Ted,
5,
4. So right around the same triples.
Yep.
Home runs,
37.
37. Barry Bonds has 41 on an average, but I found that to be insanely closer than I ever would have anticipated it to
Yep.
be in a 162 game season. But Barry Bonds takes that with an average of 41.
But you
Yep.
think about that, he never had a season over 50 home runs except for his 73 home run
Right.
year.
Right.
All of
Yeah,
his
exactly.
years are 50 home runs or below, except
Yep.
for his 73 yards. So,
Right.
And
yeah.
Ted Williams was hitting 37 on average per year, swinging a telephone pole
no joke.
in bad ballparks. All right, RBIs.
But
for
I will
Ted
say
Williams.
this. I will say the one thing that you got to think, I think Barry Bonds deserves a little more credit for in that sense is Barry Bonds played in an era where they had left-handed specialists coming out of the bullpen to deal strictly with Barry
Yeah.
Bonds. Ted Williams, not that he couldn't have, because I fully expect that
Right.
if that happened, Ted Williams would have been fine, but he didn't have to deal with that. Barry Bonds did and still put up those numbers. But we'll keep going.
All right, RBIs for
absolutely.
Ted Williams,
Where-
130.
108 for Barry Bonds. So a good
So-
20-something less.
Which is amazing. 162 game average from Barry Bonds was just over 100. Ted Williams was at a $130. I mean that 108 always surprised me.
Yep.
So stolen bases and caught stealing were 2 and 1 for Ted Williams. He was not a base stealer.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Bonds was up to 28.
Yep.
Stolen bases, not caught stealing.
So walks for Ted Williams. We talk about how much Barry Bonds got walked. Ted Williams 143 walks per season.
Yeah, and Barry Bonds is less than that. Barry Bonds would average 139 in a 162 game average. So
Dude.
3 walks less. We talk about how much he gets walked, which is crazy. Ted Williams averaged more walks per season than Barry Bonds.
And that one blew our minds. I think
Yep.
we were like we got to crack open a beer and chug it and read this again because we were like,
Yeah.
what? There's no way that this
No.
is possible. Like we didn't
No.
even think that was possible.
Ted Williams, so strikeouts was 50.
83 for Barry Bonds.
So Ted Williams in a 162 game season averaged 50
50 strikeouts.
50. 50. I mean, think of that for a second. I mean, that's like 1 every 3-ish games. I mean, come on.
I didn't
Batting
even
average for
think
Ted
about that.
Williams.
Crazy.
Yeah, Ted Williams batting average 344.
Yeah, 298 for Barry.
OBP for Ted Williams 482.
444.
Dude, 482.
He got on
Like,
base
all-time
damn near
leader.
half the time.
Crazy.
All time.
Slugging percentage of 634.
Slugging for Barry Bonds of 607.
So I mean, and everything else after this kind of OPS plus, etc. But
Yeah.
when you line up the average season side by side, Ted Williams wins in almost every category. And the scary part is Ted Williams doesn't have the total stats because he gave up 3 of his prime seasons to military service, which Barry Bonds clearly didn't do. But when you look
Clearly.
at the only service Barry Bonds performed was for himself.
And Balco.
But when you look at a typical season, Ted Williams wins in damn near every category. Even the ones we thought Barry Bonds would crush him in a landslide, like walks and all that, didn't touch him, didn't sniff him. I mean, Ted Williams was clearly the greatest hitter to ever live. He changed hitting, he changed baseball. The science of hitting was created by that man. Barry Bonds exists and had a lot of success that he had because of what Ted Williams did.
Yeah.
WAR. There he is. I was waiting for it.
So Barry Bonds has a higher WAR. Barry Bonds has a 162.7 WAR, and Ted Williams has, what was it?
122.1.
122. But WAR is obviously an accumulative stat. So when you break it down versus the total number of WAR versus the seasons they played, it comes out to like 1.5 wins per year. Essentially the difference that it comes out to be. Because Barry Bonds played for 23 or 22 seasons, and Ted Williams didn't play that long.
Yeah, Ted Williams at 19, and his age 24, 25, 26 season he missed.
Yeah.
Right. So they would have been around the same number.
I mean, Ken definitely, the WAR is definitely higher for Barry Bonds. But yeah, I mean, when you break it down, I mean, it comes out to about like 1.5 to 2 wins per season difference is the way it is now. Which, I mean, we definitely looked at, but I mean, the ultimate thing for us when we were in that room talking it through was when we did the 162 game average side by side. It was just like, I don't know how you do pick Barry Bonds. Like, I don't know how you could. I mean, you could, but I don't know how you could justify it when you look at those numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think when we were looking at it too, it was just like, we were like, okay, like we were looking at Barry's stats first, and then we went to Ted's, and then we compared it. So at first we were just like, dude, Barry's got this in the bag. Like, there's no way this is gonna happen. And then we went to Ted, and then we're like, yeah, Barry's got it. And then we were like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
And then we compared it and saw the averages, and we're like, no way. This is insane.
I mean, I couldn't believe he averaged more home runs. I mean, I'm sorry, 4 less home runs, but that many more walks.
Right.
That was my
22 more RBIs.
And the batting average being 344 or whatever it is. So you're telling me this guy would walk 100? How many times in a 162, Harrison? 100 what?
130, I believe. Was that? Hang on. So for Ted Williams, so the walks were 143.
143.
So he would, in 162 games, he would have 143 walks on average while hitting 344. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean the home runs, like I kind of said too, is like I feel like 2001 was such an outlier season for Barry Bonds that like it did pull his stats up a little bit higher too. Which is also another average wise, which is another reason to pick Ted Williams, because if he doesn't have that outlier season, then Williams is even like more.
Well,
but he did.
We
can't.
He did. I understand. But he did.
Right. In 19 years, Ted Williams hit under 300 one time.
And
he came back after 3 years off in the military, hit 342, and won the MVP.
Which is insane. I mean, this guy missed 3 years. I mean, we talk about players now. That if you get sent down to the minors for so long, that we don't know if they can hit major league pitching. This guy comes back from 3 years of war and wins an MVP.
Imagine
and it wasn't like he was taking BP during the war. I mean, the guy was like out of commission.
It's just
like legit. The guys next to him's like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" I was like, "Oh, well, I'm a grocery store guy back home. How about you?" I'm a Major League Baseball player. Okay,
Ted Williams.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Unbelievable.
Crazy. Gets off the
and not only that, but like he had a chance to come back sooner, and he re-upped for another tour because he felt he was obligated to serve his country. I mean, I mean, there's other than the fact that the media hated Ted Williams, which they also hated Barry Bonds. I mean, nobody has anything bad to say about Ted Williams. And then you look at the '99 All-Star game, which we mentioned a bunch of times. Every player on the diamond, literally, when he came out on that golf cart, ran to get as close to him as they could and touch his arm and talk to him and ask him questions. If you rolled Barry Bonds out in a golf cart in 20 years, nobody would give a crap that he was there. But Ted Williams like stopped the show for every player to walk up and talk to him and thank him and ask him questions. I mean, he is when it comes to hitting, like he's the guy. Ted Williams is the greatest hitter. He created the science of hitting. He is the guy when it comes to hitting.
Yeah. Absolutely, and the off the field stuff with the Jimmy Fund, we've talked about that before too. I mean, like that goes into it, and But yeah, But before we announce the winners, I just want to say like that was an absolute blast to go
Oh,
through
so
that
fun.
entire bracket. And to get the feedback from all you guys, like that was awesome. I loved every second of it. The thing I was thinking about before we got on today, I was like, just imagine like how many different ways that could work with our randomizer, the way we did it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we might not have the final four every single time, like not the same
No.
final four every time. Like,
Right.
just crazy to think about. But
I do
yeah.
think I'll say this, and I said it before. I think these final four are the right final four.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
I don't think there's like I think there's plenty of players out there that can be like, oh, it sucks they didn't make it this far, yada yada. But like I think we got the right four in the final four.
Yeah.
What I find surprising, but at the same time I kind of don't, is the fact that we don't have a single pitcher in the final four.
But I don't think you can. I really don't
agree.
think you can. They play one out of every 5 days. Like I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it surprises me, but it doesn't at the same time, because I think we found over and over again that the hitters really consistently had the bigger impact. And not to downplay pitching, I mean, pitching wins your World Series, but when you look at it, I mean, a lot of our pitchers fell early because it's hard for them to overcome some of these hitters and the contributions they made every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
And I mean, I think like
that's a hell of a Mount Rushmore.
Right. And I think a couple of like the early matchups were like pitcher on pitcher too. So that didn't help either. So it helped kind of take them all out. But yeah. All right. So here are the final scores. We have in 5th place, we have Josh with 53 points. 4th place, Scott was 62. Ken made a hard push for the end, but ended up in 3rd with 88 points. Stacy sneaks into 2nd at 91, and then Morgan with an impressive 114.
Wow.
So I will get in touch with Morgan. He had the final four completely picked. He had Barry Bonds winning it all. So sorry, bud, but he had Barry Bonds beating out Willie Mays in the final. But Willie Mays didn't quite make it to the finals, just like your Duke team. Oh, sorry, low blow.
Oh,
and then,
wow. Wow.
But I will be
Coach K's
sorry,
final
Morgan.
moments.
I will be in touch with you. And then we can, I'll probably buy that new era Duke hat for you that I just made fun of. So you're welcome. All right. So we are going to move on to the rounding third question. I did put this question out a couple weeks ago. But we obviously had the SOS podcast on last week for preseason predictions. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch. That was a fun time. It was just Matt.
Everybody that picked the Mets is trying to walk that pick back, for the record. Just saying.
Yeah.
Am I? I'm not. I'm full board.
You're the only guy, Sean, that's sticking with it. I give you credit. You're the only guy.
Man. I go down with the ship.
But yeah, Matt was on with us last week. That was a blast. He gave us more. I gave Morgan's picks. He gave the other Knicks picks. It was great. But yeah, so I asked what our viewers thought was going to be the World Series matchup, and we had RJ McIntyre say Dodgers and Blue Jays. I feel like that was kind of a popular one that we talked about a lot.
That was my pick.
Yeah, I mean that's the solid pick. We got Steve. He said Dodgers and Yankees. So he thinks the Yankees are going to make the World Series. It's interesting. I mean, he's a Yankees fan, but I mean, who knows? It's stinking Yankees.
The Yankees are a big question mark this year. They could make a run, or they could be really terrible. I just don't know what to make of them.
Just don't pitch Garrett Cole in the wild card game. Don't do it.
See, I don't think the Yankees can stink, because I do think they have a lot of talent on the roster.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do think there will be times where like just the talent will carry them. But like I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million more. I think they have the worst manager in baseball. I think he absolutely stinks.
There's no question about it.
Outside of Garrett Cole, I think they have like legitimate question marks in the rotation. And we can clown on Garrett Cole all we want. Like the guy's really freaking good at baseball.
Absolutely.
But like again, adding Josh Donaldson is like a good move. But like you're just adding another 30-year-old guy who's injury plagued. So,
Yeah.
like, now we get another guy that strikes out 100 plus times, who likely isn't going to play a full season because he's likely going to get hurt. I don't know. I just think they have so many issues with the roster that they didn't really like address after last year. And like,
Yeah.
as if I was a Yankee fan, like I wouldn't be thrilled with where they're at all sitting here on April 4th.
No, I mean, I feel like Isaiah kind of Falefa is definitely an upgrade from
Sanchez.
what's his name? Sanchez,
Oh,
but he can also
Urshela.
Urshela, thank you.
Yep.
He will help.
Yep.
But like you said, the question marks are in the rotation. Luis Severino's coming off an injury. Jameson Taillon, like he came from the Pirates. Like
But again, number
I mean,
one overall pick. He's shown a couple of times flashes here and there that he's got the
Right.
stuff, but has he
Right.
put it together for a full season? No. And now
No.
the Yankees just expect him to now in 2022 to have a full season. Like I don't know.
Right.
Like that's a lot to put on a guy.
Yeah,
What's
and Aroldis
amazing-
Chapman in the back end of the bullpen isn't the same Aroldis Chapman that was here 3 or 4 years ago. Not even close.
No, still really good, but no, not the same.
Yeah, he's not the same dominant guy. He doesn't have the same edge either. Like you can see it when he comes into big games. Like he doesn't have that same like swagger like he used to have. Like
Sure.
he knew he'd come in and blow you away. But like the thing I find fascinating with the Yankees is that you look at the AL East, which is by far the best division of baseball yet again, and the Yankees could easily be first or fourth. Like I don't know what to make of them and where they end up. They could win 84 games or they could win 104 games. I mean, I have no idea what to make of that team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sitting here saying that they suck when they throw like 99 to triple digits, and it's like, yeah, that guy blows.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He's terrible.
I'd never hit him in a million years, but he's awful.
Dude, he only tops out at 96, man. He is god awful.
Well,
And
that's
MLB
the thing,
the show,
though.
I take that deep.
All joking aside, though, like that's the thing about these major league hitters, man. Like if you don't have the stuff to throw them off balance, like you could throw 108 and it won't matter.
Right.
Like it won't matter. All they need is something to time it up. And if they can time it up, or if you can't throw strikes and they're just going to sit on you to hang that one breaking ball in a bat, like it doesn't matter. Like the 105 doesn't scare anybody if you can't locate it and have something to throw them off balance.
Right.
You know?
I mean, look at Ben Joyce with Tennessee early on in the season. Like, yeah, the kid was throwing 102, but guys were timing him up because that's all he was doing until he developed that changeup and that slider. Now, like, guys can't touch him.
No.
But yeah, we'll keep going here. Ken picked the Red Sox against the Brewers. He thinks the Brewers get over the hump. I don't hate that. Corbin Burns needs to bring it again. Freddie Peralta is great. Christian Yelich needs to have a bounce back year. We'll see what happens there. And Woodruff, yeah, I mean they're good.
That team's
I would love it. I'd be pulling for them.
I do too. They'll be a fun team to watch. I think if they stay healthy, I think they'll be fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Great pitching. I mean, they've got all the ingredients there. They just got to put it together.
Did they keep Josh Hader too?
Yeah.
Or is Hader still a free agent?
I'm pretty sure they've got Hader.
I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking he was a free agent. Okay.
He's still there.
So, I mean, him coming out of the bullpen ain't shabby either.
And then he is electric.
Yep. And then Sean Steinmark said Red Sox against the Braves. So that would be kind of a cool matchup. But yeah. So that was our viewers' picks for the World Series this year, and can't wait for the season.
What was your pick again, Nick?
I picked, what was it? I think the Pirates against the Orioles, I think was my final pick.
What is this, like the NIT tournament? I mean, what is this?
No, I picked Red Sox Mets. I mean, I think DeGrom going down again early, is it as bad as they say it is, or is it just a way for them to kind of push him off and stretch him out like we've talked about?
Well, I think it's telling. Like I do think it's worrisome in a sense, because if it was just their way of kind of pushing him back and stretching him out without just telling the fans, hey, we're just not going to throw him as much. Like if that's, I don't think DeGrom would be in the media talking about how frustrated he is. Like he seems very frustrated with like the results of the MRI. Like I feel like if it was the plan, like he wouldn't even be talking to the media. Like it would be all handled through the PR. It would be handled through front office and yada yada.
Okay,
but like,
that's fair.
He was taking questions in the locker room and he was talking about how frustrated he is. Like I feel like that's a little worrisome.
Okay, Red Sox Phillies it is.
No, I mean, hey, listen, you can
No,
change.
just-
I'm sticking Mets.
Yeah,
Red Sox Mets, baby.
Well, and
And-
I think and to be real for a second on DeGrom, I don't think any of us expected a full season out of him. I mean,
no.
I think we're at that point where we've kind of accepted this is the guy you're never going to see at full strength for a full season. You just won't.
I
But,
expected
I mean-
some season out of him.
Right, but I mean, they're talking 4 weeks shut down, maybe a few weeks to ramp up. Maybe he's back by, I don't know, July. Maybe June, July. He's back by the All-Star break. But if you get a healthy half out of him with Scherzer and Bassett,
Hold on. 4 weeks. It was last week, so 4 weeks to ramp up, to shut down, and then 2 more weeks to ramp up. We're talking like end of April, fellas.
no,
We're talking first week of May. That's what that is. I mean, that's 4 weeks and a couple weeks.
He'll be 4 weeks shut down and probably 3 or 4 weeks to ramp up. I mean, there's no way they're going to ramp him up fast, and that's assuming he comes out after 4 weeks. I mean, you're probably talking June, July before you see him really.
Dude, that's more than like 7 weeks, bro. We're only on April 4th. July is like 3 months away.
So,
I don't think there's any way you see him before June or July. I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
I'll take that bet. Well, June or July is different. I'll take the July bet. I'll take the July bet that we see him before July.
all right,
Okay.
June 30th.
Fine, whatever. I will take that bet. I will take the bet that we see him
It has
before
to be
July.
June 30th and a half, though, right?
I have no faith
Yes,
that the
right.
Mets are not gonna treat him with massive kid gloves here.
As
and
they should.
slow play
As
him
they
big
absolutely should. Absolutely, they should teach it with kid gloves. But there comes a point, which, again, maybe the Mets haven't shown that they've been so great with this, but there becomes a point where kid gloves doesn't mean that he just doesn't throw. Like, kid gloves are just like, all right, we're going to do it with caution. But if the timetable to return is 7 weeks, let's just say, kid gloves means 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 8.5 weeks. It doesn't mean 13 weeks because we're scared. And that's where, like, but we'll see. I mean, I hope they handle it well.
Yeah, I think you're June at the earliest and July worst case.
I bet we see him end of May, beginning of June at the latest would be what I. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Chris Sale. We saw, just to switch gears real quick. I mean, was officially today placed on the 60-day IL for that rib. I mean, we're never going to see this guy again.
No,
that's frustrating.
That's such a bad contract too. I mean, you lost a year to Tommy John. You're going to lose probably a good at least half of this year to this friggin' ribcage thing. I mean, he's going to end up being such a bad signing overall.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Well, you know what though? I don't think it can be a fully bad signing. I mean, he helped. You don't win that World Series without Chris Sale. So, I mean, to kind of tune into the Dave Dombrowski frame of mind for a minute, like, it's kind of all worth it when you get the title. But I agree, it's going to be a tough contract and tough years to swallow coming down the stretch here.
Oh, and last year he wasn't Chris Sale either. I mean, you haven't seen Chris Sale in what, 3 years now? I mean, you haven't seen like real Chris Sale.
Yeah.
And you probably never will. I mean, in reality, with Tommy John and the rib cage things and the other stuff he's dealt with, elbow, shoulder, and then he had some lower body stuff too at one point. I don't think that physically he's going to hold up. I don't think you're ever going to see the Chris Sale of old again.
I mean, I'm not a major league pitching coach, but that pitching motion he has can't be good for your body.
No,
like, it's not an efficient pitching motion. The way, like, you're going to have arm problems. You're going to have shoulder problems, elbow problems, somehow pop a rib out, like, just the way he delivers the ball is it effective when he's healthy and on? Like, hell yeah. Hitters can't see it coming, but
it relies on too much torque, too much, sequencing of his body that's just too difficult. And quite honestly, when Chris Sale got re-signed by the Red Sox and Dombrowski gave him that 5-year contract, the whole world went, they give this guy that much money over that much time and think he's going to hold up, and immediately it was just injury, and you haven't really seen him since.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. All right. That was rounding third our World Series predictions here. We're going to head home here. So we got some news for player movement, other stuff. But before that, if any of you have T-Mobile as a carrier, tomorrow, Tuesday, you download the app, you get MLB TV for free. You can sign up for MLB TV for free if you have T-Mobile, and you get the free Tuesday app.
What's T-Mobile?
It's a carrier. I just know that I'm getting it free tomorrow, and I'm pumped about it. So, just wanted to throw it out there if you guys have it or not. But
yeah, it's great. It's like $130 value. You're getting that's $130 for the year.
Yeah.
For free subscription. So that's a great deal. So certainly take it, have it.
Yeah.
So you can once you sign up, Nick, just go ahead and share the login with Sean and I. That'd be great.
I will, but it sucks because I got 3 teams blacked out in my area, which is the freaking worst, dude. I got the Braves, the Orioles, and the Nationals blacked out. So I can't even see the Red Sox games when they're in Baltimore.
That stinks.
I mean, not that I really want to watch those games anyways, but
no.
I mean, those are 3 teams I can't watch, which is like I don't have a team within 8 hours of me, but those 3 are blacked out. Like, I don't get it.
I mean, I did MLB TV years ago, and I would do it again if they didn't block out the Red Sox games, because I'm getting it so I can literally watch, my team and everybody else. But you block out all of my team's games, and I get the TV contracts, but it's frustrating to have all the blackout games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the crazy part about here is like my apartment offers free cable, and Bally Sports covers the Braves, but I'm just far enough out of Atlanta that my Bally Sports doesn't cover the Braves. So it says on my ticker that the Braves are playing, and when I click on it, it's not play. It's like women's volleyball, and I'm like, what the hell? I mean, so I end up watching women's volleyball for like 3 hours. I get stuck in that rabbit hole. But, anyways,
could be worse,
right? So first news. This also kind of goes with our fantasy league. Here we got Lance Lynn is out for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So anybody got Lance? Yeah. Anybody got Lance Lynn for the White Sox? He's out for 4 weeks. And then we got Sean Manaea moves to the San Diego Padres. So shocker, the Oakland A's get rid of another stud, and send him to San Diego. The meme or the picture that I sent you guys was awesome. The A's were slated to play the Padres in spring training, and Sean Manaea was supposed to start for the A's against the Padres, and then later started for the Padres against the A's.
It's beautiful. He walked across the field, changed his uniform, and pitched.
It was literally like Will Ferrell during spring training, where like he went out and played a position and then switched dugouts.
I mean, I think Manaea in San Diego is a good pickup. I mean, I drafted Manaea in the fantasy draft, just hoping he'd land somewhere good.
You said that. You called it last week.
Yeah. And I actually didn't think it'd be San Diego, but I don't hate that move.
Yeah. So just to give the viewers, I don't know if we can see this or not. Probably not. I'll just read it. This is the full list of the Oakland A's that have moved this offseason. Sean Manaea, Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, Matt Olson, Mark Canha, Starling Marte, Josh Harrison, Jake Diekman, Sergio Romo, Andrew Chafin, Mike Fears, Jake Diekman, and Yasmero Petit. That's literally their 25-man roster gone.
Several of those guys were all-stars. Chapman, Olson, Manaea. I mean, those are legitimately good players, all-stars.
I mean, I just don't understand why. I mean, I get they needed baseball on the field and we were pushing for it. But I felt like this was a huge issue that needed to be solved during the lockout, was this competitive balance thing. Because what the Pirates are doing is not okay.
No, and I posted an image on the Facebook page today showing the fact that Max Scherzer is making more money than, I think it was 4 Major League Baseball teams. Max Scherzer is making $43.3 million this year. He's making more than the entire rosters of the Pirates, the Guardians, the A's, and the Orioles. The irony of it is that Scherzer was part of that 8-person executive players committee that was negotiating the CBA, that was screaming about tanking and screaming about competitiveness, but yet they threw that whole salary floor and all that competitiveness stuff out the window to try to push the competitive balance tax out so they could get paid. And in the end, they all railed about tanking and the competitive issue, but didn't even deal with it. They just swept it under the rug again, and let the Pirates spend $37.9 million. And by the way, the Pirates sent O'Neal Cruz down to the minors to season him because their minor league team is clearly different than their major league team because they all suck. I mean, that major league AA team, AAA team on its best day. So they send their best prospect probably in years down to season him, also known as to stop the clock on him.
And they're trying to deal Brian Reynolds, their other all-star. They're trying to deal him. It's a joke. All of it's a joke.
Mind-boggling. You got the Guardians at $37.4 million, which is
Jose Ramirez makes 35 of that.
I was going to say Jose Ramirez is damn near all of it, and they're going to trade him. They'll be paying nothing on that roster.
That kind of goes into my next one. Is the Blue Jays are pushing hard for Jose Ramirez right now.
Yeah, the A's are at $32.5 million, and the Blue Jays are in dead last at $31.7 million in total payroll heading into 2022.
The Blue Jays are?
I'm sorry, the Orioles. Sorry, you mentioned Blue Jays.
Oh,
Orioles.
No,
sorry, the Orioles. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, sorry, you said Blue Jays, and I had them on my mind. The Orioles are at $31.7 million. $31 million for a 25-man roster. And yet the players were worried about overall salaries, and yet you've got 4 teams paying less than $40 million a year for 25-man rosters.
To be fair, though, you put the Baltimore Orioles in the AL Central, and I think they compete. Seriously.
What's the scary part is how bad the Central is, and those teams have spent real money.
Right.
And then so you look at the Central, you got Carlos Correa signs that contract. He's got an opt-out at the end of year 1. That guy's gone next year, and he's a free agent again. I don't think. I'm happy there's baseball. This lockout accomplished nothing. They really cured none of baseball's ills, and it's just more of the same crap with a different contract in place.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cubs and the Mets are both in talks with dealing for Eric Hosmer from the Padres. Interesting up there.
Well, I think with the Luke Voigt trade, I think a lot of people felt like Hosmer might be the odd man out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said that I think 2 episodes ago.
Right.
I was kind of wondering what the deal, but I'm not sure I get the Mets dealings on it.
No.
You're not taking Alonso off first base unless Alonso's your everyday DH, and Hosmer does have the better glove.
Yeah.
You could platoon him because Alonso's a righty, he's a lefty, but
I wouldn't totally hate it. But we'll see.
Ken's right. We got bigger bases out of the lockout. He's right. We solved problems.
Oh my God.
And a pitch clock. We got that too. And no shift. So we really cured baseball. For Joey Gallo, at least.
But that no shift doesn't start this year.
Yeah, still next year. So
that's still 23.
So Joey Gallo's going to hit $192 this year and then come roaring out with 205 next year.
Yeah. So next one we got here, we got Craig Kimbrell to the Dodgers for AJ Pollock. So Kimbrell is now also part of the All-Star team out in LA.
But what is that? Does that tell you that the Dodgers don't have faith in the back end of that bullpen without Jansen? Do they not have faith in Trinan? Do they?
Well, Jensen's gone. Jansen's on the Braves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do they not have faith in the back end without Jansen? Like, Jansen wasn't exactly automatic. He was good. But, do they not have faith in Trinan? Like, they feel like they need to go get Kimbrell, who's not necessarily Mr. Consistent either. No,
but maybe it's, you just add an extra insurance policy. I mean,
you got a Wetland Rivera thing there.
Right.
And it's not like, they spared a piece that they could certainly afford to spare. Like, it's not like they gave up
Chris Taylor.
They didn't give up Mookie Betts for him because we need him. It was a part that we could spare if we can bring in some extra insurance for the back end of that bullpen. And maybe it's a whole thing about we don't want to make Blake Trinan throw 60-something appearances, 70-something appearances. So we kind of save him. And I don't know. I don't hate the move.
It's good.
No, if you can add an arm like that, you do it. I mean, definitely. But it's just, it makes me wonder: does Dave Roberts not have faith in the back end of that bullpen, or, the rumors are that they were going to get rid of AJ Pollock anyways because they want to open up at bats for Gavin Lux, and they just so happen to find a partner that would give them a pitcher, and they called it good enough. I mean, who knows?
Well, you cannot question Dave Roberts for another 3 years because he got extended. So Dave
I can't.
Roberts got a 3-year extension.
I can't wait for Craig Kimbrell to be the #1 starter. I just can't wait to see it.
Right? He's been waiting all his life.
Pitching the first inning a couple of times
Goodness gracious.
in the playoffs when they've got to win a game. That's fine.
Yeah. So the last thing I have, unless you guys have anything else, there, even though O'Neal Cruz didn't make the Pirates roster, there has been a big handful of big prospects actually making the opening day roster. Sean mentioned it earlier. Spencer Torkelson made it for the Tigers. My pick, Julio Rodriguez, made it for the Mariners, and then obviously Bobby Witt Jr. / Mike Trout Jr. Also made the squad. I mean, kind of no brainer there. But a lot of young kids on legit organizations, should we say, have made the opening day roster. So I think that's great for the game, bringing young kids in. Because I remember like when Andrew Jones came up, like our generation, when he came up at like 18 years old in the World Series, like that was the coolest thing that anyone had seen in a while. You know, just being so young and competing. Like I love having these young kids in the game, and it's just going to grow it, make it better. So
and
I agree.
absolutely mashes. I mean, this guy just.
I'm telling you, man.
Jesus.
I'm telling you, man. I feel very good about that AL Rookie of the Year pick. You know, this kid stays healthy. Like he's going to put a lot of balls over fences. He's going to put a lot of balls over fences. You know, and I think he's at the right time at this Tigers organization. Like the Tigers have been really bad for like a good 5 years. Like they were contending in the American League for a short period of time there, where it was year in, year out. They were really, really good. You know, and then they went into that lull. And then when they were in that lull, they started drafting. And I feel like they drafted really well. And they've developed these players, the Riley Greens and the Spencer Torkelsons and the Casey Mizes. And they've done a really good job, I think, of developing these guys. And they're all coming up now at the same time. It's their team. It's their franchise. It's their, you know, and it's an interesting year. I think baseball's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of teams. It's not one of those years where it's like, well, there's only 3 or 4 teams that can win it. I think there's a lot of baseball teams out there that can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, I'm really excited to see how much these young kids really influence these, like, on the fringe teams. Like, does a kid like Spencer Torkelson take them from on the fringe to winning the division? Like, that'd be awesome. Like, I would love to see something like that. Or does Bobby Witt take the Kansas City Royals and make them wild card contenders in the AL Central? Like, that'd be awesome to see the Kansas City Royals mix it up a little bit. You know, I think there's a lot of young talent out there on these teams that are really going to be kind of the centerpieces of these clubs.
Yeah,
I agree.
That home run that Torkelson hit yesterday, he like clears out an inside pitch, but like he was off balance at the same time and still like cleared it out for like a 380-foot bomb. It's like, dude,
he's got straight up grown man strength. Just grown man dad strength is what Spencer Torkelson has.
And he's got hands. He's got hands that remind me like of Pujols at his prime. Like he doesn't have like a one plane swing. Like he goes and gets the ball where it's thrown. He can hit anything, and he can hit it hard.
Yeah. It's crazy.
There are no quiet outs with that guy.
You talk about no quiet outs and a guy that can hit any pitch. Did you see the home run Raffy hit yesterday?
It like
ball was at his ankles.
That looked like an old Vlad Guerrero home run on the bounce.
That was ridiculous, that pitch.
Even he looked surprised by it.
And that didn't scrape the wall. That thing was hammered.
No, it was a bomb.
That ball was absolutely hammered. How do you get the barrel of the bat on a ball at your ankles? It doesn't make any sense.
I wish I hit my pitching wedge that well. I mean, he just basically scraped that thing off the dirt and launched it into the seats.
So I'm telling you, man, holy moly.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Unreal.
But yeah, well, that's it for me. Do you guys got anything else?
No, man, I'm good. Next time we talk, there'll be like legitimate baseball to talk about. And
I know. I can't wait to actually change my wall, like the standings behind me. Like,
couldn't be happier.
I'm pumped for opening day. It's gonna be a big week in baseball. A lot, you still got a couple of odd free agents out there like Conforto flying around. Maybe he lands somewhere, maybe he doesn't. You got a lot of questions around rosters and lineups, and and health, because this is going to be a weird season with the quick ramp up. But I'm just pumped this baseball. It's going to be a good week.
Absolutely. So everybody enjoy opening day. And Morgan, I'll be in touch. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next Monday.
See you.